mode.
Hello, Marshall Reddick members. This is Tanya Lorimore. I'm a real estate advisor with the company. It's so wonderful to see so many familiar clients of mine logged on tonight. I look forward to answering all your questions and helping you into your next performing investment property. For those of you who don't know me yet, I've been with this company for a few years now, and I enjoy working with individuals like you that are just getting started and or are returning investors to help you analyze property on a case-by-case basis and set in like any criteria that you may be interested in to add to your investment collection, whether it's your first or your eighth property. That's what I do here as a real estate advisor. This is a live webinar, so use the chat box that, it popped up, it said hello. So use that throughout the entire presentation. That way questions will be answered by Patrick tonight. If he cannot get to all of them, then I'm going to connect with you and answer tomorrow, so keep the questions flowing, okay guys? Again, this is Tanya, your soon-to-be real estate advisor and friend if we don't already work together. So it's so great to see you guys on here, people I know already. My contact information is going to appear at the end of the presentation so we can seamlessly continue to communicate and get on to the next steps to get you started. But I know you're all here for this awesome presentation. I know that it's exciting to see properties under 90,000. Tonight is going to be extra special because Patrick Prenti, he's our controller. He just came back from visiting Clarksville, Tennessee, and he has so many wonderful insights to share with you on this market. So, we've been in this market for a really long time, over 10 years. That speaks volumes for consistency, and desired products. So that has been produced time and time again for our investors as a stable investment opportunity, as I know you will see this evening. I'm going to pass off the call to Patrick. He's going to share his experience and all that Clarksville has to offer. Here we go, Pat.
Tanya, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And hello, Marshall Reddick members, how are you? I hope you all had a very, very fantastic start to your work week. As Tanya said, my name is Patrick Prenti, and I'm going to be your host tonight as we explore Oak Grove and Clarksville, aka or also known as the Gateway to the New South. So as I mentioned, we're talking about Oak Grove, which is actually on the Kentucky side, and also Clarksville, which is on the Tennessee side. This metro area sits across state lines, as some of the metros around our country do. Here I am. It's nice to meet you guys if we haven't met before. I've been behind the scenes for many, many years. I've been actually working for Marshall Reddick Real Estate for about 11 years, a little over 11 years now. But here's some information about me. And I bought a lot of property, sold property, and I've learned a great deal in that time. And most of the markets that we've been in, I've been to. I've certainly met all of our regional representatives. So I have a great deal of experience that I can bring to the table. As Tanya said, I recently visited Clarksville. It's been about 2 weeks. You fly into Nashville, that's the closest area, and it's actually just a short drive to Clarksville, and a beautiful drive at that. I mean, the trees are just changing color right now, and I just really had an enjoyable time. I did spend some time in Nashville too, but that's a whole different story. In any case, we're looking here at the Cumberland River, which Clarksville sits on, and Clarksville is the city that anchors this metropolitan area. Interesting to know that this river is navigable too, so they send big barges down it like they do in the Mississippi, and it's a great means of transportation for the area. As I mentioned, just visited and toured. So in the top couple screens there, we've got the Cumberland River Center, kind of flows along that whole area of the river, and there's a bunch of parks along the area. It's just absolutely a beautiful area. And then below that, we've got the Customs House, which is in like the historic downtown Clarksville area. and it was a tax collection office primarily for the tobacco trade, which is really what founded Clarksville originally, way back when. I've got the Montgomery County Courthouse here on the left and a couple of photos with me there on the right. I just absolutely love Dunkin' Donuts, and I was happy to see that they have franchises there. We are just about to get ours here on the West Coast. It's been kind of an East Coast thing, and they've been expanding, into other countries as well, but we're just starting to get our first franchises here. So just so you guys can see, I had a great time while I was out there. This is the house that I bought. And this is one of the major reasons that I visited the area. I wanted to see my house. I also wanted to meet our longtime regional rep, Mr. John Arrington. We'll talk about him in a little bit. I also met with some other local real estate professionals as I really wanted to get a good understanding about the market and really where it's headed. So brush up on our geography a bit here, guys. As you can see down towards the right bottom of the screen, that's Nashville, and then right up I-24 to Clarksville, and then you can see Fort Campbell, which we're going to talk a lot about, and then just right on the other side of the border is Oak Grove. And what's really interesting is I kind of expected to have, maybe like a 5 to 10 minute drive up a small highway or something in between the cities there. But pleasantly surprised is that Oak Grove basically has melted into Clarksville as the two cities have expanded and grown. So you really can't tell when you're across state lines or technically in Clarksville and or Oak Grove. Those of you guys who know me and have met before, we've talked. I'm a numbers guy. Kind of just really hit it home from all the properties that I bought. I bought my first property back in 2004, well before the market downturn, and I just really enjoy crunching the numbers when we look into new areas, whether we decide to stay in certain areas and try and open up new areas. So the point of this slide here I want you guys to take is that the South most recently is really trumping the rest of the country in terms of population change and growth. So you can see there on the top, this is actually the population increase since 2010, from 2010 to 2013. And you can see just the South, just dwarfing everybody. And the only exception of that is the natural growth, which is the birth minus death. So we here on the West Coast, we're still having children and we're living longer. But then percentage-wise, you can see here as well. The South is just really hitting it home. Low cost of living, inexpensive land, etc. Talk a little bit more about the population, guys. So today, the Clarksville, Tennessee, Kentucky metro, which you can see at the bottom there, encompasses 4 counties, Montgomery and Stewart counties on the Tennessee side, which include the city of Clarksville and the city of Dover, and then also Christian and Trigg counties on the Kentucky side, which house the cities of Oak Grove and Hopkinsville. So 290,000 in this metro today. That's roughly the size of the city of Riverside, as well as the city of Stockton. So kind of a reference for those Californians that we are. As far as metro areas, it's about the same size or comparable to our San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles metro area. And as you can see, in Clarksville here, we're just booming in terms of our population. Most recently, just 4.6% just in the last few years. Now, of course, without talking about this area, you just have to mention Fort Campbell. So it's Fort Campbell as well as the proximity to Nashville, Clarksville's proximity to Nashville, that's had a major impact on the economy, the growth, and the housing market in this metro area. But the more recent boom has been due to the fact that the area is becoming a regional healthcare center. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the other employers, but let's not pass over Fort Campbell. So for those that didn't know, Fort Campbell is the second largest military base in the world. Largest military bases, of course, are in our country. But Fort Campbell was originally founded in 1942 and got started there for World War II. It's located between the cities of Hopkinsville and Clarksville, and it, like I said, just sits across state lines. It's absolutely giant. Took forever to drive around it when I was out there. Our regional rep, John Arrington, was lovely and toured me around the city, but 102,000 acres give you a little bit of size factor about how much land it actually takes up. So it's primarily an Army installation, but it houses some Air Force, and some of the most specialized and elite airborne divisions of our U.S. Army, including the Screaming Eagles. So I encourage you guys to take a look at the Fort Campbell website. A lot of really good information on there. And they have some really good web designers too, because it was a fantastic, fantastic website. Like I said, kind of growing into this healthcare hub. So understand that Fort Campbell's surely not the only game in town when it comes to this area's metro employers. The Gateway Medical Center, which is the top picture there on the right, that's kind of as you pull into the city of Clarksville. Just very, very up-to-date, 270-bed facility, full range of inpatient and outpatient medical, diagnostic, and surgical services. It's 1,100 healthcare professionals strong. It's got a specialty in bariatric surgery, and it's an accredited chest pain center. So that go along with Vanderbilt University. Understand that Vanderbilt's actually in Nashville, but they've established a cancer research center in the city of Clarksville, which is that middle right photo there. So this is really bringing a lot of jobs to the area as well, and piggybacking on top of the Gateway Medical Center, as I mentioned, that's really becoming a healthcare hub here in this area. But you also have to think about, when you think about this area, Austin Peay State University, which has now grown to greater than 12,000 students. This is an accredited full 4-year public university. It's located right in the heart of Clarksville. It's got residence halls, academic departments from accounting and computer science to nursing, psychology, and even theater and dance. Full roster of men's and women's sports. And it also has approximately 1,100 employment opportunities on both the academic and administrative professional side. So not only is Austin Peay an educational hub, but it's got some really good synergies between it and the area's other large employers, which I have listed here. So many of you have heard of American Standard and or Trane, probably Bridgestone as well. But American Standard is a manufacturer of kitchen and bath plumbing fixtures. I actually have an American Standard toilet in my home. And Trane, most of you probably have heard of that. It's a global provider of HVAC, or commonly known as heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, as well as building management systems. Bridgestone, we've all heard of, auto and truck parts manufacturer, and then Akinbono Brakes, manufacturer of auto, motorcycle, train, and industrial components and machinery. So we've got quite a range of industries here, in addition to, of course, the ever-expanding Fort Campbell Army Base. So let's talk a little bit about why Clarksville, Tennessee, Kentucky Metro. Well, of course, we mentioned the population boom, which is just amazing, and the jobs are there. Forbes recently had it listed as number 12 for future potential job growth. It's also really important to note that the cost of living is extremely low comparatively. So the cost of living index has a baseline of 100. And I've got a bullet point here showing that the cost of living index in Clarksville, Tennessee, Kentucky Metro is about 7.3% below that baseline average. It's also important to talk about the affordability factor. So affordability for housing in that index also has a baseline of 100. But the higher the number on the affordability index, the more affordable it is to live there and to afford the housing. Okay? So I'm going to jump across on the other side there, but understand that the median household income in this metro is 44, almost 45K. All right? So let's compare that to some of our other larger major metros around the country. I've got San Fran, New York, and Los Angeles. Those are the 3 largest metros in our country. So, of course, San Francisco just blows everybody out of the water with all that high tech up there. But New York and Los Angeles metro areas really aren't too far off from the median household income in this metro. Add that to the extremely low cost of housing. I think the median home price today is something like $155,000. anyone can afford the housing there. Okay, so on top of that, of course, again, I'm just going to mention Fort Campbell. I'd like to pause there for a second because I took some time. I was hoping to actually have my response by now. I haven't received it back, but I contacted both senators on the Tennessee side as well as the Kentucky side to get their thoughts on Fort Campbell. As you know, we've been in this area. I mean, Tanya mentioned before, more than 10 years. It's actually getting close to 20 years that we've been in this area, and it's actually the longest standing area of any of that we are still in today. So anyways, now that I'm a property owner there, I thought I would just reach out to them and get their thoughts and how far they're willing to go to keep Fort Campbell thriving and growing. I mean, there's so much controversy going on in our government today about the defense budget and that we need to cut back and all these things, and so it's definitely a valid concern. You know, the Fort Campbell and the Army base there, as it definitely is a major player in that economy. So I haven't received that response yet, but I'd be glad to share it with you when I do. But I'm confident that the response is going to be exactly what we want to hear, that Fort Campbell is going nowhere. It's got both senators on each side, I'm sure, willing to go to the earth's end to protect it and in their constituency in the area. So lastly, before we move on, we're in this area because we get great deals. We're talking about below market value purchase prices, turnkey properties, no maintenance involved, and they come rented. So you guys start collecting your cash flow right from the start. Here's a snapshot of the steady Eddie nature of the market. When I was out there visiting with John Arrington, that's our regional rep, you know, so many of our members have invested in this area over the years, and he didn't experience the terrible, you know, downturn and all those horror calls that many of our members who purchased in the Florida area at the height of the market, or in the Las Vegas or Phoenix that felt the downturn. So just goes to show the steady eddy. So you can just see here from 2000 to 2014, just a continual uptick in the median sales prices of the homes in the area. As we always do, extensive research. You can see here that the census recently tabbed this metro area as second in the growth rate. Okay, so it's not only the influences of the military that are expanding it, but you know, the other employers as well as the university that are just keeping their foot on the accelerator in terms of population growth. CNN Money also had an article most recently dubbing Clarksville very high on best places to launch your business, your small business. So I mentioned Clarksville, and this area originally got started in the tobacco trade, and then Fort Campbell and the proximity to Nashville really launched it out of that. But now it's just got this business-friendly environment, and it's bringing new employers to the area. It's very, very exciting to see this happen. Let's talk a little bit more about the highlights. This is one of the major ones, especially for the military, but for all inhabitants of the metro. So Tennessee has no state income tax. When you look up the states that have no income tax, this actually wouldn't be one of them listed, because there is a caveat that dividend and interest income are taxable at the state level in Tennessee. But other than dividend and interest income, no wages are taxable. And then on the Kentucky side, it's got low state income tax, you know, someplace between 2 and 6%, depending on your income level. But the caveat here is that military income, including active duty, retirement, and disability, is 100% exempt from state income tax. Okay, so this not only keeps the Army there, but when they get to retirement and they've lived in the area and they've built a home there, they're more likely to stay. So it's a really good thing. Nobody wants to pay more income tax than they have to. Lord knows the Fed gets us for enough. So understand, again, just quickly mention that it sits across the boundaries of Kentucky and Tennessee, and it's a short drive away from Nashville, but it's also extremely centrally located. You know, you're within a couple-hour drive to other major markets, Louisville, Memphis, and St. Louis, as well as Indianapolis and Atlanta. Our metro area is as well a changing mix. Longtime residents, new friends, definitely coming into the area, and it's just got a ton of outdoor recreational areas, museums, a lot of fun things to do out there. I missed one of their annual small town festivals by just a couple weeks, but I certainly won't be the last time that I visit this area. A couple of the major attractions I've got listed here. I didn't get a chance to get to the Butterfly Garden and Performing Arts Center, but that is certainly something that I would like to check out in the future. And again, mention the outdoor areas. The land between lakes is a huge, huge outdoor playground there, 170,000 plus acres. So there's quite a lot to do in this area. So how are we in Clarksville, Tennessee, Kentucky Metro? Well, here is our acquisitions professional, Mr. John Arrington. So he's an Army veteran, so he definitely has a good rapport with a lot of the tenants, a lot of the employers in the area, and he's been a real estate professional since 1976. And as we mentioned, we're coming up on a 20-year anniversary. He's been our regional rep and our property manager in this area since 1995. He knows the area extremely well. Here I am again. I'm visited Mr. Arrington's office. This is his office right there in town. It was, again, wonderful for him to take me around the area. But as we all know, property management is always key. So again, almost 20 years experience. His portfolio today is about 400 properties, give or take, changes constantly. So it's not too large, but he's not real small either. Consistently low vacancy rates estimated in his portfolio between 5 and 6%, but very, very quick turnaround as well, often less than 30 days, which those of us who have owned rental property for many years, including myself, know that getting your property rented quickly is extremely important. For Marshall Reddick, we have special rates, as we do with many of our property managers. Kind of special to Mr. Arrington is that he provides two options. Number one is, and is also the method that I chose, is that you pay an upfront $350 one-time fee. That fee basically buys you the 7% per month management for the life of your agreement with him. In addition to that, you have your release fee, your annual release fee every time you have a new tenant, which is common, but never as low as $200. Okay, so that's option one. If you prefer not to pay the $350 upfront one-time fee, no problem. You still have the $200 lease fee. You're just going to be sitting with 10% monthly management fee, which is, lower than normal. I mean, I see usually 12% around the country, but it is higher than the 7%, which is lower than most places around the country. And of course, with most of our property managers, there's never a release fee, and John Arrington does never, ever, ever upcharge, that is, on the maintenance that needs to be done with your property. So here I am again, and the question I've got for you guys is, are you looking for newer, renovated, and pre-rented property with cash flow, like I was? Okay? So if you are, this is what you've been waiting for. So I've got 209 Rough Drive here, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, guys, because unfortunately, we've just had this property go under contract. So this was a very good property, but actually wasn't my favorite while I was out there. My favorite was actually this property, 124 Gleaves. And I'll tell you why. This property sits on a corner lot. It has a huge lot. Okay, so you've got a large front yard and an extremely large backyard. It almost looks like you could have fit two homes on this lot. And so it just adds that element to the neighborhood, and it just sticks out. So very new build, 2001, offered today at the price of $71,900. Got the pro forma figures there below, and as we always do, guys, we have the maintenance and vacancy factor, the reserve factored in at $131 a month. So before that, you're looking at monthly income after all expenses of $318. And then your true cash flow, again, which is your monthly income less your maintenance and vacancy factor, you're looking at $187. Now, I'd also like to point out here, guys, this property is already rented for $750, as are all the properties that we're going to go through here. So understand that you're going to be taking that cash flow right from the get-go. And honestly, where can you find a home built this new for this type of price range? I mean, I see it in other markets, and other markets are good as well, but a lot of times I find it's older homes that can be purchased for this type of price level. I've got a property here. I'll back up 1 second here. I wanted to point out that this property is actually in the city of Oak Grove. This property here on Lafayette Point is in the city of Clarksville. But again, as I mentioned, you really can't tell the difference. I mean, when I was driving through the area, we were toggling back and forth between the Tennessee and Kentucky state line, and there's just no signs. You just have no idea. It's just basically one big city. So this property, also fairly new, 1997. Low price as well at $74,500. This is a full 3.2, a little bit smaller square foot than our other one. But definitely an amazing starter rental home. Very similar to the property that I purchased. Okay, so again, rented at $750 with some dynamite cash flow. Another property here in the Clarksville, in the city of Clarksville on Audrea Lane. So 1994, 92.5. Another full 3-bedroom, 2-bath. This one commands a little bit higher rent. You'll notice the other two properties that I just showed, they didn't have a garage. Now a lot of us look at that and say, well, that's a deterrent. Well, in Clarksville and Oak Grove, understand that most homes, maybe I shouldn't say most, but many, many homes do not have a garage. But this one happens too. So that makes it command a little bit higher rent here at $850. So this is also a fantastic home. And you guys may be wanting to know and see other photos of the home. You might want to get some other information on these homes. Understand that our website, all of these homes are listed. Okay, and if you haven't been to our new website, I absolutely encourage you to check it out. It's got our wonderful pro forma rental calculator on there that has very, very conservative numbers and will project your profit as well as your cash flow. You're able to change some of the numbers in there if you think that we're estimating our maintenance and vacancy factor too high, or if you want to change the interest rate. So, definitely visit that website, view some more photos of these properties, and check it out. So as far as financing goes, you guys may have relationships with other lenders, and at these price points, you actually may want to pay cash. But if you do want to finance, you can get into these properties for very, very little down. All the figures that I was just talking about, mortgage payment-wise, are all based on today's going rates, 4.5%, as well as 25% down. But you can get in with 20% down. And although you're welcome to use whoever you'd like for your financing, I really want to recommend Phil Cornett. This is a local, works for a local regional bank, First Advantage, right there in Clarksville. They know John Arrington very well. They know the market and the homes very well. They're extremely comfortable lending in this area. I guarantee that your experience here will be much better and smoother than it will be with a Wells Fargo or a JP Morgan who isn't versed in the real estate there. We've worked with Phil Cornett. He's actually doing the loan for the gentleman who put 209 Rough Drive under contract. So I encourage you, if you do want to finance and pick up one of these properties, that you call Phil Cornett. He'll take your call anytime. You're welcome to use his mobile number, and if you don't get him for some reason, I'm sure he'll get back to you extremely quickly. So how do I reserve a property? Kind of as we always do. We don't have any type of bidding wars. We don't pose you guys against each other, so it's on a first-come, first-served basis. And so what's kind of the process? Well, first and foremost, as Tanya mentioned, our lovely Tanya, she's just wonderful. She is going to be available to take your call. If you don't already have a real estate advisor, she is now your real estate advisor. But pick up the phone and talk with her. Talk the area over. Visit our website. Get yourself pre-qualified. Call Phil Cornett. Make sure and take advantage. And then requirements-wise, Tanya's going to walk you all through that. Certainly, you're going to need to be pre-qualified. Certainly, you're going to need to have the down payment available to make this happen. So as I mentioned, got Tanya Lorimore here, put a face to the name. I'm sure most of you have met her already. But take advantage of all of the research that we put together. Take advantage of my time. I went out there, went to see my property, and this area is really an area for those of you who are looking to pick up a solid, low-risk, high cash flow rental. So again, I encourage you to take action and give Tanya a call. At that point, I would like to address any questions that maybe anybody has at this time.
Hey, Patrick, it's Scott. Can you hear me?
Yes. Scott,
Hey
how
there.
are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been following along. I wanted to help you out with some of the Q&A as I've just been going through some of the questions here for you. I know I didn't mention myself in the beginning, but yeah, I could just help you out here. Hey, everybody, it's Scott, VP of Marketing. Happy to see a lot of familiar people on here, and Pat did an excellent job. We're really excited to see you visit the market recently, and loved all your pictures, and the property that you purchased is, I know myself, is an excellent one, and the ones on here too as well. I'm just going through some of the questions. I thought that I could assist you here. We have a few questions about are there any HOAs on these properties? Is that something common in Clarksville or Oak Grove, or do you typically not see HOAs in these neighborhoods?
Would you like me to address that, Scott?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm just reading the questions here for you to address.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, HOAs are becoming more common in all areas around the country, and that includes Clarksville. But however, all the homes we've showed tonight are not involved in an HOA.
And that helps keep the costs low and higher cash flow, and that's actually, I think, one of the things that John looks for is just always keeping the cash flow as high as possible, right?
Yeah, and then we're talking cash flow. One of the things I guess I failed to mention about this area is that the property taxes and the insurance costs are going up in many areas around the country. That's not happening here. I don't know. There's major disasters and things that are causing the insurance prices to rise in many areas, but the property taxes, again, and the insurance are extremely affordable, in addition to no HOA, really boosting the cash flow that's available on these properties.
Okay, thanks, Pat. We have some questions about what type of remodeling does John typically do, or can you speak to the quality of construction on some of the properties that he's rehabbed, just maybe some of the things that he looks for and some of the things that he remodels in these houses?
Yeah, absolutely. He will often take a look at the roof. I mean, that's a major rehab item. And if it needs a new roof, then we'll certainly put that on. Definitely always we're looking at new flooring, whether we're putting in some type of hard surface, laminate or linoleum. Also could be new carpet. Okay, so we're talking definitely new flooring. We're talking about new fresh paint. We're talking about perhaps new windows in many cases, as well as, excuse me, I lost my train of thought, appliances. I don't think I mentioned appliances, so we're talking about all new appliances in these properties as well. So they come turnkey, and he places the tenant for you ahead of time. I mean, that is the goal in this area. Pick up property, renovate it, really make it an attractive investment to you, because you're going to have less maintenance costs with the recently renovated property, and you're going to collect that cash flow right from the get-go.
Cool. So I see some questions about how are the tenants being screened, and I know maybe I can start and you can fill in anything that I missed. But
Please.
I know John, as a licensed property manager and been in the property management business for 20 years, one of the first things that he looks for, obviously, does a credit check and looks for any judgments or liens, any recent evictions. That's immediately right from the get-go the first thing. Takes landlord references. Sometimes we'll even call previous landlords to find out, did they leave the property in good condition? Did they pay on time? Obviously, criminal background check, and also does verification of employment. I don't know if I'm missing anything, Pat, but we had a question about, how are these tenants that are being placed in these properties screened?
Right.
And as a licensed property manager, I mean, that's obviously something that John has a lot of experience with.
Yeah, you touched on them there at the end. The two major things that he does do that are extremely important to me when it comes to property management are the landlord references. You got to know that they were paying the rent on time with their prior rental homes. In addition to that, it's the employment reference. I mean, a lot of the tenants that are being placed are military or military families, not all, but you definitely have to make sure that they can afford to live in the homes. I mean, we're all from California and are extremely shocked at these rental rates. I mean, we can't rent a studio apartment in Orange County for the price that you can rent one of these homes. So although it's affordable there, you still need to make sure that they are employed, how long have they been employed, and that they have the ability to make that rental payment. So John definitely takes the time to make sure that's the case.
Okay, great. We're getting a lot of good questions, so I really appreciate everybody typing in really intelligent questions here. The length of the lease, they're all 12 months, so these are on fresh 12-month leases. How is John providing, Pat, I mean, you can obviously speak to this since you personally own a property, and obviously we sell quite a bit of properties here. What is his portal, or how are you getting the statements? Are they something you can access online? Do you have ability to access your statements and your lease and property management agreement?
No, he doesn't have a system. They're transitioning into it. But now, for the time being, I receive my statements via email. He definitely deposits my rental proceeds via ACH, automated clearinghouse, directly into my bank account. And the tenants, most importantly, have the ability to pay online. But in this area, I asked him specifically about that, but most don't. A lot of people prefer to write a check and drop it off, or a money order. But having the ability for them to pay online, for them to have maintenance requests online, as well as for me to receive my payments, my rental proceeds online, is huge. I still do have some property managers, my other properties, that send me a paper check, but I certainly wish that they would not do that. So John doesn't, and again, he's moving to a new system that's a little bit more robust, but those are how he's handling it for now.
Okay, and then property taxes. Are you familiar with property tax rates in Tennessee and Kentucky? Obviously, they're much lower than other markets.
Yeah, absolutely. We are kind of using I mean, they change based on school district, based on county, but overall in the research that we've done, we kind of take a look at which properties we've sold there in the past. We reach out to our members and get a copy of their property management, a copy of their tax bill to actually match it with the figures that we use in our pro formas. So for in this area, we're looking at about 1.01% of the acquisition price will be a good solid estimate, plus or minus a few dollars, of what your property taxes are going to look like. Okay, so again, that's subject to change, but over the long haul, we're looking at about 1.01% of the assessed value, which should be around your purchase price.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely that's one of the things that I like a lot about this market, is that all costs, are very low. I mean, costs to insure the properties, property taxes, and especially property management fees from John. Like you had mentioned earlier, no release fee, which is very rare. I mean, that's not something that we see quite often with property managers that we work with. And when it comes to, we have a question here about once a tenant vacates, what is the average amount of time to release a property? And sure, you mentioned, the leasing fee, which is usually half a full month's rent, half first month's rent to a full first month's rent, which is quite a bit lower with John. And I know we've discussed this with him before, but could you mention kind of what time frames he's usually seeing to re-rent some of these properties?
Yeah, I mean, often less than 30 days. I mean, the rental market is very robust, and there's not a lack of tenants by any means. The key is getting to the property immediately after the prior tenant has vacated. You got to check it out, make sure it doesn't need any make-ready, quote-unquote, and if it does, acting quickly to get that done. So I'm confident in John's ability to do that, and again, with a robust amount of tenants, I'm also confident in his ability to have these properties re-rented many times in less than 30 days.
Okay, great. So
I have a question coming here for about home warranty. Now, we haven't factored that in or offered those here, but, if that's a make or break the deal, I mean, make an offer. If you want to include that in your offer, that's certainly something that can be talked about.
okay, great. And also landlord laws, in Kentucky and Tennessee are obviously, since it falls within, our criteria of landlord-friendly states, would definitely be considered landlord-friendly in terms of, length of time to file an eviction, get a court hearing. I don't know if you have anything else to add, but I can certainly say that those are landlord-friendly states.
It's nothing like we have here in California where it could literally take 6 months to 12 months or longer to evict someone that wanted to drag it out by filing bankruptcy or squatting in your property or filing a counterclaim. I mean, literally, you file, you prove that they haven't paid the rent, you show the lease, and as soon as the sheriff can get out there, they're going to set the tenant out. So, I mean, that rarely happens. Usually when you file, the tenant vacates.
Mm-hmm. And then we have another question on, are these properties listed on the MLS?
They're not currently listed on the MLS. They are listed on our website. You're welcome to check them out there. I also encourage you, if you'd like to, just do a Google search. You'll find them on Zillow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, Pat, I mean, I think you did a great job. I'm getting a lot of praise from people on just typing in questions, and I think you covered it tremendously well. Obviously, there's a scarcity in the amount of properties available, and this program is unique since they're all completely remodeled and rented. I mean, this is a program specifically geared towards Marshall Reddick investors wanting something that's low expenses, high cash flow, very little maintenance, low price. So I think this is, from what I'm seeing from people, I think this is very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, the particular niche market that we're in, being able to offer a property that's turnkey, it's been renovated, it's already rented, and the fact that we're offering them, below the market value. We're extremely confident in the appraisal values of these properties, and your guys are going to be buying these, you're going to be walking into equity. Sometimes 10,000 or greater. Now we've got the properties rented, so that is, we bring them specifically and find these great deals for you guys in the network. So again, just wanted to mention that you got to take action. You got to take advantage of the research and the effort that we here at Marshall Reddick put forth every single day to bring you these excellent real estate investment opportunities.
Absolutely, Patrick. We got one more question. Can we see more pictures with Patrick in it?
If you guys want to send me an email, I'd be more than happy to share all the photos. Many of the investors who've bought with us in the past, I drove by and took photos of their properties and emailed them to them directly. So I have plenty. If you'd like them, just send me an email. I'd be happy to share.
All right. Well, great job, Pat. Thanks to everybody for joining us, and we're really excited to bring you these properties. We're excited to follow up with you. Tanya is available right now, so if you guys are emailing her or giving her a call, she can kind of talk you guys through some of these properties, answer any more questions that maybe we didn't address. And yeah, we're really excited to bring you guys these opportunities and to help you achieve your goals of financial independence.
All right. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Have a great evening.
All right. Good night, everybody.